stew, and her name is Minerva. Ouch! She's the flower of the flower. Ouch!
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Is it actually Memorial Day weekend? Does that mean I should be on vacation right now instead of streaming? I don't even know what vacation is. Once, 1.5 times in my entire life. Okay, that's not 2.5 times in my entire life. I went on vacation that wasn't associated with comic book show or work. Mexico for a week, and this was back in the 90s. Went to Australia, but that was for a comic book show for a week, and then the second week we stayed later and kind of vacation, Shelly and I. So I guess that kind of counts as a half. And then one time we took our child to Josh to Disneyland when he was young. And I don't know if that really counts as vacation. That was more of a treat for the kid as opposed to, doing I guess it counts as vacation. So I've gone to Disneyland a couple of times. All right, I take it back. Maybe 4 or 5 times I've gone on vacation without comic book or work being connected to it. So what I'm trying to say is when Memorial Day or Veterans Day or any day rolls around, there's no vacation. There's only work. Hey, everybody. It's Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. We are live here on Sunday, the 24th. Part of Memorial Day weekend. I guess tomorrow is officially Memorial Day. And let me think, what am I going to be doing on Memorial Day? I'm going to be drawing. That's what I'm going to be doing. Shelly's baking right now, and the air is filled with the smell of baked goods, which is a wonderful smell. We're trying to get through the show without me losing my mind. All right, let me see. What else do I got? Oh, so I finished the painting behind me. We'll take a closer look later. And I looked and I said, okay, it's 1:30, 1:45-ish. I said, it was 1:30 actually. And I said, I could go out and do a little yard work, get a shower in, and be ready to go. So we have this like tree that's about at the base, probably about that thick. So it's a smaller tree, but it's still like 8-9 feet tall. And it's growing like right at the base of the fence, up and like jamming into the house, like we have a little bit of side yard that's maybe 4 feet, between the fence and the side of the house and one side of the house. So I said, I want to cut that thing down. So I go out there with a saw and all this stuff. And first of all, it's thicker than I thought it was. So I start trying to saw it, and I'm like, and as I look at it and I kind of dig some of the rocks away and stuff, it's like growing like almost right underneath our fence, just maybe a little bit on the other side, which is my neighbor's yard, and then up like this. So I can't really get at the root of it. So I'm sitting there trying to saw it, and I can't really get close enough because of the fence. And so I got a chisel and a hammer, and I chiseled that whole thing out, at least from my side of the fence and underneath the fence a little bit. And oh my word, this is a 62-year-old shoulder right here. I can tell you that. So anyway, I finished that, came back in, showered, complained to my wife, and then here I am. So that's my exciting day so far. Hopefully yours is a little more entertaining than that. At least the weather's nice outside, so I'm not going to complain about that. All righty, let's see who is here. Let's see on this Memorial Day weekend who said the heck with everything else. I'm going to show up and watch Aaron's show. Okay, and I also bought a warm lamp, like an orange lamp up here, so that my skin, I won't look like as white as that painting back there and like I'm near death. I want to have a little bit of color, so there you go. All right. Creative Faye is here. Mark Pengrin says, happy Memorial Day weekend, Aaron. Well, I think I just shared with you how happy my Memorial Day weekend is. Am I the quintessential grumpy old man? I think I am. I think I officially am that. Pantheon is here. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. Randy Howell all the way from Canada. Matthew Muma's joining us. Thank you, Matthew. Chris Starr. Michelle Bowers, Lady with a Sword. Look out. Coram is joining us. Corey Landis, of course, is here. And Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, says, in Napa, California, celebrating my son's graduation from veterinarian school. So your son was smart and got a real job and a real career. Good for him. Finally on Pacific time at a wine tasting. Wow. That is living the high life right there. Jeff Potts is here. He says, both my shoulders are absolutely trash, so I get it. Yeah, this is the one I had surgically repaired. I think it was during COVID when I was doing like Aaron cons and stuff, because I would like draw left-handed. And yeah, so I have times where it feels pretty good and other times where it doesn't feel so good. Steel Rage is here. He says, yeah, I got nothing better to do. Well, apparently neither you nor I have anything better to do. Sequential Treasures being very sympathetic to my cause says, lawn care is not an old man's game, Aaron. It is not. Gray Wolf Graphics, although my dad did it they were always out there. My dad was like, he was like a laborer. He had that kind of mentality. He was always working on the house and he could do everything. But he was always working in the yard, digging something up. And I was like, I was adverse to physical work. I was like, I'm an artiste. I can't, but when you get your own house, you got to do the work. So D Wham says, what up, white boy? Thanks for joining us, David. Yeah, I am looking very tanned, but it's the lighting. I finally figured out good lighting because I have that white light coming on me. And it just made me look, I am not exactly the most colorful. I'm not just, I am on the whiter side because I've had a couple of skin cancer spots up on the old dome. And so they keep saying, stay out of the sun. So I've been staying out of the sun pretty religiously for the last 20 years. But I'm not as white as I look on camera because I get washed out by my bad lighting. And so I bought some warm lighting. And look at me now. Now I have color. Nothing But Milk is here. The Geek Easy. He says, what's wrong with doing things left-handed? I do left-handed stuff all the time. Not sure where he's going with that. But there's Marcus Killer saying he's left-handed. All right. JP Roca joining us as well. Okay. Let's get this freaking show on the road. I don't have any snacks today. All right. If I say this, I'm gonna be on my soapbox, but here I go. I was gonna go to my phone, the charging port on it was bad because I tried to clean it with unofficial tools and I busted it up. So I finally took it in to get the port replaced, which they did, and it was great. That's where I picked up the warm light bulb. And so I'm driving back, and one of the roads I have to go on takes me by Trader Joe's. And I thought, I'm going to stop by, get some goodies, snacks for the show. They have it blocked off because they're having some gay pride parade. And so I had to U-turn and go the long way around, couldn't get to Trader Joe's. But, when you think about it, and there was like kids there and everything, it's like, when is it okay to have a sexual preference parade in your neighborhood? All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah. Anyway, so here we go. So I have no snacks today, but I do have this. Okay. Oh, come on. There it is. All right. So let's take a look at this week's expensive comic of the week. This is one of my favorites. And I'll tell you this. Go back to the golden age here. Okay, nobody wants to look at the back. Let's look at the front. Yeah, baby. More Fun, number 54. Now, this is not the first appearance of the Spectre, although this, if you wanted a great cover for the first appearance of the Spectre, this would be it. But no, this is the third appearance of the Spectre. The cover where he makes his first appearance is sucks. This is one of the great covers of the golden age, and it's like, why was this not cover for his first appearance? But anyway, so here it is. We're going all the way back to 1940? Yep, April of 1940. Joe Siegel's story, Bart Toomey, John Leddy, and Joe Schulman did the art. Bernard Bailey did the cover and did art inside. This is considered a classic cover, as one might expect by looking at it. So we don't have a recent sale on this. Is the CGC site, but a 5.5. That's a fine minus. So that's pretty decent shape for a golden age book. As you can tell, it looks pretty good actually. There's not any major creases or anything on it. You got a dust shadow along the side there on the right hand side, and some chipping on the corners and a little bit on the sides there, but really nothing really egregious about this book. On the front anyway. And if we look at the back looks, there's some soiling and, tanning here. Looks like there's a chip missing right there. But all in all, I think pretty fair representation of this comic. Now, this sold back in, when was this? 2022. So 3-4 years ago, not that long ago. Actually 3 years ago, because it was a little over 3 years ago. It was December of 22. So, and it sold for roughly 15 grand. And this is on Comic Connect, which is a pretty good site. I believe this is my friends over at Metropolis Comics own this. And this is an old casing too. But so this sold for roughly 15 grand 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. The question is, of course, what would it be going for now? Well, let's take a look and see. All right, so if we go to our good friends at Go Collect, we don't have any Well, we have a recent sale at an 8.0 for 34 grand. Let's see when that was. Come on, you dummy. You're supposed to go. There it is. So that was in 26. So that was just a couple of weeks ago on Heritage, sold for 34,000. That's an 8.0. So that's so we can kind of figure our oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. We want 54, not 53. So based on an 8.0 being at 34,000, we can assume this 9.2 right there that hasn't sold since 2015, probably in that $60,000 range would be my guess. And again, you have to ask the tough questions here. Who in the freaking world has $60,000 they could drop on a comic? Now there's 2 copies. If we look over here at our grading chart, there's 61 total copies that are graded. 24 of those 61 are restored. 37 are unrestored. So there's not a lot of unrestored copies of this book floating around, which you could imagine from 1940. It does have a great cover, so that usually means there's probably more of those because people hung on to them because they thought they were cool. But you got 2 9.2s, 2 9.0s, 2 8.5s, 7 8.0s. How about that? That's pretty remarkable. There are more copies of an 8.0s than any other grade. That's pretty amazing, actually. Only 2 copies of our 5.5. So even though an 8.0 is a very desirable grade, it's rarer in lesser grade, which is very bizarre. But 8.0 seems to be that magic number right there for this book. So you're looking at, in an 8.0, 34 grand, which is half the price of a near mint copy. And an 8.0 is still a really nice copy. So, in fact, let's take a quick look at that. I think they have a picture of it here. Yeah, here we go. Well, it's not a big picture, but at least it's a picture. No, I guess it doesn't look a ton better than that 5.5, to be honest with you. But, still, it's an 8.0. Very nice. So there you go. An 8.0 for $34,160. And that's an all-time high. Because if you look at the other grades here, I hope you guys can see them as well as I can. In 2024, it sold for $33,600. In 22, $33,600. In 22, $31,000. And then your next sale is all the way back to 2016, where it sold for $13,000. So this book did not seem to suffer. Of course, I guess 22 would be considered that would still be kind of COVID money. So this didn't suffer too bad, actually. It still went up even during post-COVID sales, which is pretty good. Of course, Golden Age especially rare and desirable Golden Age, will always go up. Good investment right there. So there you go. All righty. More fun comics. Number 34 is our expensive comic of the week. Don't let it ever be said that I do not educate you guys on all things comics. Oh, I was going to tell you a story. So I went to DC Comics many times, but one time I went there. They have like a little archive library where they have a copy of every comic they ever printed, right? Now, the unfortunate thing is they have them bound in big, thick binders, okay? Which means they hole punched the comics and stuck them in these binders. Now, they do have an Action #1, which I saw. It's pretty beat up, but they did have it in a little glass case there in this. And this guy was showing me around. But I went and picked up No Fun. That's a great comic, isn't it? No Fun Comics. How well do you think that would sell? More Fun Comics. I picked it up, big old binder. There was a couple of binders. I picked up the binder, flipped through it, and sure enough, there was the copy of that book. And it was 3-hole punched, and it was in there, and you could kind of flip through it and look through the book. But there it was, right, in this binder. So it's kind of cool. So I saw several books like that that they had, that would have been, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 books just hole punched and shoved right in the old binder. But anyway, that was kind of cool. So I did get to see, I never got to experience something like that at Marvel, like go into the archives and see Spider-Man #1 or all that kind of stuff. But their DC, I did. I was able to go through and look at it was pretty amazing. Like the Detective 27 and the Action Comics #1 were in the glass case. Superman #1 might have been in the glass case as well. But all the rest of them were like in the binders. And probably had been there for, since the 70s, whenever they started doing that. I don't know. But it's pretty cool. So there you go. That is your expensive comic of the week. So one of the things that I have been doing with my spare time, well, okay, it's not my spare time, but with my time is, let me open something up here. Hang on a second. Actually, I'm just going to go right behind me and grab this portfolio. I think I showed these on Graybeards. Ugh. What did I just break? But I have been, some of you know, many of you know, some of you may not know. I don't know. You tell me what you know. I'm working on a mini series for Alien Books, which apparently is going to be distributed through IDW. So go figure. Zorro Legacy, which is kind of like the next generation of Zorro. And there's a couple of covers I did that I'm actually quite proud of. I think they turned out really well. So this is #1, and then this is #2. So I've been working on the second issue of this book. The first one comes out in July in a comic shop near you, written by Dan Abnett, and Matt Ryan's inking me on it. And I'll be honest, I took the job at San Diego last year because I said, I'm going to have this gap in my schedule from where Wraith of God 3 ends and before I launch Barbaric Adventures, so I could do this miniseries. The problem was the script to the second issue didn't show up till about 3 weeks ago. So it kind of screwed up my entire schedule, but I'm still doing it and working on Barbaric Adventures. So this is kind of like the old days where I'll take, say, 6 hours a day to work on Zorro. Then I'll take the other half of that day to work on Barbaric Adventures. Now, most of my energy has been going to that painting, which we'll look at in a second, but I also been working on pages. So I'm going to be a workaholic for the next couple of months while I get all of this stuff done. And a guy my age shouldn't have to work that hard, but yet here we are. So anyway, I am over halfway done now with the second issue. So it's it's weird because I haven't really been in what I call DC Comics mode for 5 years because I've been doing my own thing. Obviously, you guys know that. With Empire Comics, you can see the sign right there behind me. But now it's like you've got to get hyper-focused and get back into that sort of commercial art mode where it's like there's no screw around time, okay? There's no, I think I'll go watch a movie. No, that doesn't exist anymore. You get up, you feed your 95-year-old mother breakfast, and then you get to work. And that's what I've been doing. And for the last 2 weeks, and I've actually kind of got into this rhythm where I'm getting a page of Zorro done a day, but then able to still have enough juice to work on this painting and Barbaric Adventures pages. So I've been doing a lot of work, but I'm kind of back. It took me a while to kind of get back into that mental, you're on a deadline, dude. You got to do it. There's no, I don't feel like drawing today. I'm not going to do it. That doesn't exist anymore. And so I'm finally back into it, into a groove. And it actually feels kind of good, because there's never a day that goes by where I go, I really wasted today. I didn't get anything done. Even days where I'm like on Wednesdays, which is a really tough day because we babysit graybeards. We don't babysit graybeards. I babysit my grandkids, then I do graybeards, then I do the landing party, then I make dinner, and then it's like by that time, there's like how much more time in a day is left. Well, I've been working at night after that and actually getting stuff done. So I'm just like, my point being, I am in the groove right now, and I will not leave the groove until Zorro is done and Barbaric Adventures is done. And then there will be much rejoicing. So anyway, let's take a look at, I can't really show you the Zorro pages because, well, I can't. But so I finished this thing. This, of course, is the character Celia from Primal Zone. And this is going to be an exclusive cover. We'll get into that a little bit more later in the week. But there it is. Entered a little bit of those background colors and stuff into the background in here, which wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I'm relatively happy with it. And it's almost kind of like a fine arts kind of weird experiment with the background. But let me tell you a little story. I was really struggling with her hair, and I couldn't decide, did I want to do it, make it look more realistic, or did I wanted to go more stylized and just do like big sort of bolder shapes. And I kind of got caught in between, but I kind of finally found my groove and what I wanted to do there. And so I did it. And I think it looks pretty good. But what I did realize was that now my good friend Joe Jusko, who's always been sort of my painting mentor and giving me advice and stuff, he suggested a while ago that I use soft body acrylics because they're better than the regular. Okay. And I've had issues with the soft body acrylics. I was struggling because I'm one of those guys that, let's be honest, I make a few mistakes while I'm painting, and if I make a mistake, I want to go over it and fix it, right? And I was having a real hard time with the soft body acrylics because what I didn't realize, and this is just me being dumb, but many of the soft bodies, where are they? And maybe I just picked up the wrong ones. Hear that? Transparent burnt sienna. Many of the colors that I had were transparent. So they're basically like watercolors. I mean, they're still acrylics because they dry really quick and they're thicker, but they're transparent. So I was going over like stuff that I had screwed up, and it was just like muddying because I couldn't get it to cover everything up fully. And then I finally realized that, and I was like, Judas freaking Priest. So I went back to my opaque average old acrylics to do her hair because I had to fix some of the crap in there that I did and I didn't like. And then suddenly I was able to go in and start fixing stuff on this that I needed to fix pretty quickly. And I was like, I think the soft body acrylics for someone like Joe who really knows what they're doing is probably the way to go. I don't think it is for me going forward. I think the acrylics I use going forward are going to be the regular old, I guess we should call hard body acrylics that are more opaque, because I tend to do a lot more dry brushing, which lends itself to that kind of paint, I think, more than the soft body. So there you go. So I learned a few things, and I am going to start taking a look at line decker because I'm not sure if I want to be like super stylized or if I want to be realistic. And obviously, anytime you're not drawing from photographs, but you're, going from memory or whatever, you're going to have stylization in there because you're going to bring your own art style to the drawing. But laying down the paint, this is more of a realistic approach. I look at those legs. I mean, that's more of a realistic approach to, and I kind of I would like to be, I think, a little more stylized. So I'm going to take a closer look at Line Decker, who is a very stylized painter. and see what I can pick up from him. But anyway, this will be an exclusive cover available very soon. And I'll let you know more details about that when it happens, which is going to be very soon. Very soon, very, very, very soon. Anyway, Barbaric Adventures is back open for business. And you'll find a link in the description of this video, take you right to the campaign page so you can back it right there. It's also pinned to the top of the chat. And it is also on my X account and my Instagram homepages, as well as my website, arnoldpresty.com. There's links literally everywhere to take you to this campaign. We have, since we closed down and opened back up, we have, I think, just a few, like six or seven new backers on there. We want to get obviously more than that. And those of you who are just saying, I don't like Indiegogo, man. You're not the only one. They've changed a lot of things and made it very difficult on everybody. But I will be doing a Kickstarter for this project as well very soon, where you just might see that cover crop up on Kickstarter. So Comics Legend says, what color will the background be? That is the background. That is the background, that white textured with a little bit of color breaks. Beatty's here. Beatty says, Leindecker's my all-time favorite. Go grab the full-size scan on Heritage. I've got his books, dude. I mean, I've got tons of books with his pretty good reproductions of not only his finished paintings, but his studies and stuff. So there you go. Yeah, I did define the belly button a little more there because I was getting, everybody's like, where's your belly button? I'm like, it's right there. I can't see it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So she's not Deja Thora. She actually does have a belly button. So there we go. JP Roca says, I just added Zorro Legacy #1 to my poll. Well, thank you very much. I hope you like it. Look at John is just freaking yelling at me, man. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs. All right, go to Heritage and pick up. Okay, I will. I'll do it, John. I'll do it. And then I'll say, you know what? You were right. Okay, let's see. Where are we at? So that's Barbaric Tales. That's where we're at. Barbaric Tales. I even wrote Barbaric. What am I, an idiot? It's my own book. I don't even know the name of it. Barbaric Adventures. So that's kind of the update on that. I've got some more pages, but I can't really show you because I don't want to give the, if I show you every page, then why would you buy the book? So that's what we got cooking. All right, time to move this show along. I can't find anything. Complete disaster. I got too many clips. I got way too many clips. Why can't I find anything? There it is. Welcome to 1938's Hollywood. I think some guys actually were wearing hats like this back in 38, possibly. So we do like, we don't do a deep dive, but we pull the curtain back a little bit on the Academy Awards here. Every week we pick a year. This year it's 1938. Of course, I'm using the Academy Awards, the complete unofficial history, as my reference book, which got a lot of good stuff in it. And to be honest with you, I don't care if it's true or not. It's, it's still fun. I got to buy that Hollywood Babylon book. I keep talking about buying it, and I haven't done it. But anyway. So 1938. 1938. It's a year for Frank Capra again. Now, if you remember, Capra already won Best Director and Best Picture for It Happened One Night. That was back in, was that 31 or 32? That was 30. When was that? 34, excuse me. And then he won for... the heck else did he win for? He won for something else. I can't even keep up. We're not even that far into it, and I can't remember. For Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, and here he wins again for You Can't Take It With You. This is a fun, charming film if you haven't seen it. Of course, James Stewart, and look at James Stewart gets third billing. So he wasn't really a big star yet. He had Jean Arthur, Lionel Barrymore, and James Stewart and Edward Arnold. This is a really kind of fun and charming movie. Highly recommend it. So now, because of the previous year, 1937, because of the embarrassment of the song Sweet Leilani winning over George Gershwin's They Can't Take That Away From Me, the Indiscriminate Screen Extras Guild was stripped of its best song voting privileges. They basically said, you guys blew it. You can't vote for best song anymore. Well, they got pissed and retaliated, because the guild had the Screen Extras Guild, 12,000 members. That's a pretty big bloating, pretty big voting block. So they pulled out all the stops for one of its former members, Walter Brennan. Yeah, you guessed it. Walter Brennan did it again and won his second Academy Award for a film called Kentucky, which appears to be a horse racing movie. I have to admit, I have not seen it. But remember about Walter Brennan, he was like in his late 30s or early 40s, but he just had that old geezer look that made him a great character actor. So anyway, he won for Best Supporting Actor, and they're, of course, implying here that the fix was in, but, you know, there you go. So he won his second. Now, if you recall, just in 1937, Paul Muni, the year before, famously said to Louise Rainier, nobody wins 2 years in a row. And then, of course, she did. Well, then Spencer Tracy last year won for Captains Courageous. And guess what happened? He won again for, Boys Town. There's him giving the what for to Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney, what a troublemaker that guy was. Just kidding. Well, maybe not. The interesting thing about this, Betty Davis showed up to the Academy Awards, which again was held at the Biltmore Bowl in the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. Frank Capra actually hosted. So that must have been kind of nice to win his third Academy Award for directing in what? The Academy Awards have been around 10 years at that point, and or less, because they used to do 2 years at a time. And he's already taking home his third Oscar for directing. Now, Frank Capra was a heck of a director. Don't get me wrong. I love Frank Capra movies. But anyway, so Betty Davis. Now, you guys remember Betty Davis was married to that playwright who she thought was gay. But then as it turns out, the playwright psychiatrist was telling him not to have sex because it would hurt his creativity. So apparently that didn't go over too well in the old marriage. So she's still married to that dude, but she shows up to the Academy Awards with William Wyler, the director, who she was having an affair with, who was the real love of her life, apparently. So I guess it wasn't televised, but yeah, I don't know that. I don't know how happy your husband would be if you're going, I'm going to the Academy Awards, dear, with a date. So she went with William Wyler. How about that? The other interesting thing about this night was Walt Disney already picked up his 8th Academy Award, special award for Ferdinand the Bull, an animated short, of course. So this is like his 8th Oscar already. Wow. And he got special Academy Award for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which of course they did not nominate for Best Picture this year because they didn't want to set a precedent for cartoons winning Best Picture. So he never got a Best Picture nomination. In fact, the first Disney nomination was for Beauty and the Beast in the 90s, which That was pretty questionable in and of itself, but there you go. This is interesting because they're saying in 38, they said, I'll read the quote here. Ironically, Hollywood's own bubble had begun to burst. With war heating up in Europe and the stagnating depression, ticket sales had slumped to record lows. With the exception of the flush Disney studio, the industry was feeling the pinch. It hardly seemed the time for risk takers and budget be damned visionaries, but the Hollywood dream machine was stoked for a miracle. The most astonishing year in motion picture history was just around the corner. Of course, they're referring to next week, 1939, and we'll get into that, of course, next week. But one of the things they always say, excuse me, during hard economic times, the entertainment industry seems to continue to thrive because people want escapism to get away from their problems. I don't know if that's still the case, because we're obviously seeing a lot of numbers falling off in the entertainment business from comics to movies, but that could be a quality issue as well. You never know. All right. So Spencer Tracy wins his second Oscar for Boys Town. And sure enough, Bette Davis wins her second Academy Award, this time for Jezebel, which was directed by William Wyler. And if you look at this picture, she's almost attractive in this picture. Almost. Now, she was, believe it or not, originally offered the role of for Gone with the Wind, for the character. Who's the character in Gone with the Wind? What's her name? Well, the actress, of course, was Vivian Leigh, who got the part, but whatever her name was in the movie. She was offered that part, but she turned it down because she thought that, doggone it, where is it? Sorry, I'm stumbling all over this. Yes, Bette Davis turned down the role of Scarlet in Gone with the Wind, fearing that she would have to work with her least favorite leading man, Errol Flynn, as Rhett Butler. So she was under the impression that Errol Flynn was going to get that lead and of course, end up being Clark Gable. So this film was being shot while, in 1938. Of course, it was released in 39. We'll get to that next week. But so William Wyler gave her Jezebel, which is another Civil War drama, to kind of make up for the fact that she missed out. I made a poor choice and didn't go with Gone with the Wind. I don't know if it was a poor choice for us, but it was for her. And so she ends up winning an Oscar playing this Civil War heroine a year before Gone with the Wind comes out, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we already said that that old coot Walter Brennan, who really wasn't an old coot, won Best Supporting Actor. Best Supporting Actress was Faye Bainter for Jezebel. I don't even know who that is, so who cares? Now, the movies that were nominated for Best Picture this year were The Adventures of Robin Hood, speaking of Errol Flynn, Alexander's Ragtime Band, Boys Town, of course, Spencer Tracy won Best Actor for that, The Citadel, Four Daughters, Grand Illusion, Jezebel, of course, we just mentioned that, Pygmalion. God, how many times have I remade Pygmalion? Test Pilot, never heard of it. And then, of course, the winner was You Can't Take It With You. Your Best Actor nominees this year were Charles Boyer for Algiers, James Cagney for Angels with Dirty Faces. I didn't know he got nominated for that. Robert Donay for The Citadel, Leslie Howard in Pygmalion. Spencer Tracy wins, of course, for Boys Town. And as you can see, they're now up to that nominating 5 actors. And everybody, the 5 actors, 5 actresses, 5 directors, kind of, they settled into that number, although they're still nominating way too many pictures. And as currently, they've gone back to that format of nominating like 10 pictures for Best Picture, which is just, I think, ridiculous. But anyway, so Bette Davis wins for Jezebel. Faye Bainter. What? How about this? Faye Bainter was nominated for White Banners as Best Actress, but she won for Best Supporting Actress in Jezebel. So Was it, did Pacino do that once where he was nominated in the same year for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor? I think he did. That's pretty remarkable. Norma Shearer, once again nominated for Marie Antoinette, and Margaret Sullivan for Three Comrades, and then, of course, Wendy Hiller for Pygmalion. I don't know who that is. Best Supporting Actor, Walter Brennan won. John Garfield for Four Daughters. Jean Lockhart, not the woman Jean Lockhart, but the man Jean Lockhart for Algiers. Robert Morley for Marie Antoinette. Basil Rathbone for If I Were King. And there you go. Directors, Frank Capra won for You Can't Take It With You. Michael Curtis was nominated for Angels with Dirty Faces and for Four Daughters. Holy crap. Michael Curtis got nominated twice in the same year for two different pictures for Best Director. That's freaking awesome. Norman Turog for Boys Town and King Vidor for The Citadel. So there you go. Let's go in and get a little bit of Hollywood Babylon, and then we will move on. Your Sins of Omission, Best Picture, Bringing Up Baby was not nominated, which is, Bringing Up Baby is considered one of the top 100 films of all time, and it wasn't nominated. Alfred Hitchcock did not get nominated for The Lady Vanishes. Best Actor did not. Gary Grant, once again, did not get nominated for Bringing Up Baby, and Best Actress Katharine Hepburn did not get nominated for Bringing Up Baby. So those are the what they call the sins of omission, or at least the people that they think should have been nominated but weren't. How about this little Hollywood Babylon for you? Spencer Tracy. Rather than looking at me, let's look at Spence. Since this has to do with him, there's old Spencer again. Now, Spencer Tracy was refused. I guess the studio wanted to give his Oscar to actual Boys Town, which I believe is in Nebraska, isn't it? It's an orphanage thing this whole movie was based on. He refused to give his Oscar to them. I think I would too. So the studios then, or the Academy, made another Oscar to give to Boys Town to, they could hang out, put on their Boys Town mantle or whatever. I don't know. The studios wooed the majority block of Screen Extras Guild voters, offering them 6,000 jobs just as the Academy Awards were sent out. Of course, Snow White didn't get nominated. We talked about that. Shirley Temple claimed that she stopped believing in Santa Claus when she was 6 years old. Her mother took her to see him at the department store, and he asked for her autograph. That's pretty good. And finally, director William Wyler, who was having an affair with Betty Davis. It's interesting. If you look at Hollywood, strong-willed women actresses, they always fell in love with the directors that could handle them. And here's another example. William Wyler was a tyrannical perfectionist. He threatened to tie a weight around Betty Davis's neck if she didn't stop bobbing her head. How about that? And then they became lovers. All right. So there you go, guys. That is Hollywood Academy Awards from 1938. Next year, the big one, 1939. I'm a wealth of information, and I'm just here to share it with you. Okay. I like to keep the show moving. So let's move right into this. I say, if you're going to go look at art, you might as well look at my art. What have I got in the old flat files? Well, a couple of pieces that are so fresh, so new. They haven't quite made it into the flat files yet, but we're going to look at them anyway. Just in case you don't watch Graybeard Studios, and if you don't watch Graybeard Studios on Wednesdays, what is wrong with you? You need to watch that show. It's very good, even if I do say so myself. But I'm only one of many members that make that show entertaining. We have people in the chat, like John Beatty, that are unofficial members of the show that quite add to the entertainment value. So you don't want to miss it. Anyway, for 2 weeks in a row, we did box art. And because I'm a Marvel zombie, I did both mine as Marvel. characters, which is really funny because I worked majority of my career for DC. But Marvel characters are always my favorite. And so anyway, we did Marvel Monsters, and I did this. Werewolf by Night, Frankenstein, the kind of Buscema Frankenstein, The Thing, the Hulk, Simon Garth, the Living Zombie, and the Man-Thing. And interesting enough, as luck would have it, someone contacted me and said, "Oh, I want that," and so I sold it, and so it is gone. And I thought, well, as we often do in our minds, we go, well, that worked once. Maybe this scam will work twice. And so at Dan Lawless's request, because he was doing this huge piece with a bunch of different Marvel heads on it, or DC and Marvel heads on it, I thought, well, let's do it again. Let's do another box art thing. So I came with this, which I'm actually, I like quite a bit. And so this is She-Hulk, 1970s Ms. Marvel, Storm, 1970s, and Valkyrie. I guess all 1970s versions of these characters. She-Hulk didn't come around until the 80s, but anyway. And so this is my corner box art for this team. And I said, what should we name this team? And John Beatty, of course, always the sharp wit that he is, came up with the Femtastic Four, which I thought was on the money, baby. So that's what I'm calling it, is the Femtastic Four. I'm not going to do a logo because that would require work. So anyway, I thought, well, surely I'll sell this. Nobody, crickets, nobody cares. So as I looked at this, I thought, I think I'll color this. I think I will color this. I haven't done it yet, but hopefully by this time next week, I'll have it colored. And because last time I did this, I did a piece. You guys remember the, let me find it. Let me find it to refresh your memory. It's amazing how many portfolios I have full of artwork created almost entirely on Graybeard Studio. Let's see here. I still have this really tremendous drawing of Heck Boy. Don't know why that hasn't sold, but there it is. Where are we at here? Doggone it. Why can't I ever find what I'm looking for? It shouldn't be that hard. My life's so complicated. I can't even because it's on the front page, you idiot. That's why. Okay. So let's do that. So you guys remember this, which I believe I did on Graybeard Studio, at least the black and white version of it. And then I said, I really want to color this. So I colored it. And the funny thing is, somebody contacted me and said, hey, is that Gwen Stacy Green Goblin piece for sale? And I said, yeah, but I just colored it, so now it's more expensive. And he was like, oh, I wanted the black and white. So anyway, what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, I was like, okay, I'm going to wait a little bit on that corner box before I color it, just in case somebody that wants the black and white, of course, it'd be cheaper in black and white than it would be in color. But then I'm going to color it if, no one contacts me. But these are, look at this. David's like, add the Wasp, add Hellcat, add Dazzler. I don't have any room. I'd have to make their heads smaller. And so anyway, that's what's in my flat files this week. And like I say, next week, maybe I'll show it colored. Maybe that's what I'll do. All right. Speaking of color, and we were speaking of expensive stuff, I'm going to show you some more expensive stuff, because I don't know how you guys are, but I love dreaming about stuff I can't afford. Okay, so the title's a little misleading because this isn't really for sale. It's already sold, but I wanted to share it with y'all. because we looked at a Frazetta Death Dealer painting that is still for sale. Guy wants $2 million for it. Now this, you could argue this is Frazetta's most famous painting. That's not my favorite painting by a long shot. There's like several that I like better than this, but this could be argued that this Conan painting is his most famous painting. This sort of iconic Conan image. This naked chick laying there at his feet. The skull in the background and creepy stuff. Tremendous image. Powerful. Well, this recently sold for $8,750,000 plus whatever the commission on top of that was. So with the commission added, the commission for, you know, putting it up for sale on the auction site, that'd put it around probably about 9 million would be my guess. 9 million, which I believe is more than what the Egyptian Queen painting sold for, which I think was like 5 or 7 million. So this has got to be the biggest sale for a Frazetta painting yet. 9 million freaking dollars. 9 million. This is the stuff that like Bill Gates buys. Actually, he probably doesn't, but he would be the type of guy that could buy something like this. Like Elon Musk is like, you know, I want that Conan painting in my office. I'm going to get that. And not even think twice about it. It's freaking amazing. This arm right here is just killer. $9 million, folks, right there. And now you're saying, okay, well, that's great, but what else you got for me? Well, look at some of this other, there's some else here. Check this out. This is a Michael Turner pencil drawing for a cover. This thing sold for $27,000. Now, I get that, you know, there's not a ton of Michael Turner stuff out there because he passed so early in life, tragically. But $27,000. Wow. Just freaking wow. There was one other piece I wanted to show. This one right here. Is this not the quintessential Barry Smith Weapon X page? What did this go for? I got to sign in. Don't look at my passcode. Let's see here. $177,000, 890. 177,890 is what this sold for. So that's a close-up of the artwork. Here's what the page actually looked like you were getting for your money. That's great. There's the color. Not a big fan of that. I think Barry Smith colored this, so I'm not going to criticize him too much. It's kind of intense, but he did do a good job of separating Wolverine, these three characters here, from the rest of it. But anyway, freaking nuts, man. Now here's something. Now granted, this isn't a cover. It's a splash page to the story. All right. But if you go a little bit into this, look at this Jim Lee cover. Sold for about the same amount of money. And although that's a great piece, I would think that Wolverine would be worth way more than this, but I guess not. Because that Wolverine page is, I mean, this is a, you know, It's a good cover. This is older Jim Lee before he became like Super Jim Lee, inked by Carl Potts. I mean, it's a nice cover. And it's one that we've all seen. I wouldn't call it iconic, but it's certainly a known cover. Boy, I would think that splash page of Barry Smith would be worth way more than this. But you know what? So they auctioned it off. Oh, look at this. We'll look at one more here. Look, it's a beauty. 42,000, folks, for this double page spread of oh, look at that dinosaur's cool back there. So you got Shanna, Rogue, and Storm. Scott Campbell making the bucks. $42,000. The question is, did he get that money or did he sell it earlier for less and someone else just cashed in on it? I don't know, but if I did this, I would get about $42. So that's, you know, it'd be nice. Just you do a double page spread later. I guess this is probably a gatefold, isn't it? There's probably 3 covers here. I mean, that pretty much takes care of you for, depending on, you know, how frugal you live, like a year or at least half a year anyway. Nice. That is a good piece, though. It's a really nice piece. When you got it, you got it. Art of Roy says, stop hating, Aaron. It's not hate, it's jealousy. You need to understand the difference between the two. He's a Monster says, 200 days sober. Good for you, man. Art is looking better. You know, when you're sober, things look better. Randy Howell says the Femtastic 4 sketch is not yet. It isn't. But all you have to do is contact me directly. Oh, Lord. David Williams is calling me. Hang on. Yes.
James Scott Campbell drew the pterodactyls correct.
So did I. Okay. Thank you. I'll pass it on. David wanted you guys to know that J. Scott Campbell actually drew the pterodactyls correct, meaning their arms and how they attach to the wings. I always draw them like with bat wings because I think it looks cooler, but the correct drawing is how J. Scott Campbell did, and David wanted to point that out. Although I have admitted the error of my ways, and I do try to draw them more correct now. Ronnie says, what about the Conan sketch? Are you talking about my Conan sketch or somebody else's Conan sketch? I don't know what you're referring to. Because I gave a Conan sketch away. I think I still have one. Do I have any Conan in here? I don't even know if you're talking about my Conan sketch, but I can only assume that you are. You see, I think that I got this Conan sketch, which is actually pretty finished. I got that. So someone contacted me about Skeletor, but never pulled the trigger. And someone contacted me from France. So you know they know art about the Vision. Did not pull the trigger. Yeah, that nice Hulk drawing there too. It's still sitting there. Most of this stuff is listed on my website, but the corner box one is not up there yet. Jaguar God, Frazetta right here. Not a well-known Frazetta character, though, I guess. Anyway, I got all sorts of stuff. Oh, speaking of Sauron or whatever, but he's sort of a man pterodactyl, so I could, you know, he's got the bat wings going there. But I can take some liberties with him because he's like he's like the man bat. He's like the man pterodactyl. So like, Darren Wagner says, let the jealousy flow through you, and it tends to motivate. Boy, does it ever. Oh my gosh. David, what are you putting in there? No, hating is hating somebody. I don't hate any of these guys. I respect them. I admire them. But I'm jealous of the money they're getting for their artwork. It's not hatred. I mean, it can be, but not with me. It's friendly jealousy with me. It's good, clean, professional jealousy. Why did I skip over Snowbird? I don't know. I mean, do we need to go through the whole portfolio? Do you guys want me to go through the whole portfolio? It's Gwen and the Green Goblin, currently for sale on my website. Now, some guy was going to buy this one until I put her in a swimming suit, and then he didn't want it anymore. But anyway, and there's the Emir. This one goes back to 2023. This was an early episode of Graybirds, but I still really like that piece. That's when we were doing some coloring on the show. Yeah, so you got Super Skrull is still there, Sauron, the Dinosaur Man, or whatever he is. 50s robot, and then this actually is in Dan Brereton's more recent. This in his Nocturnals book. He actually used this as Nocturnals book. This is Polychrome. That's that ghost chick. And the 50s sci-fi robot thing was also Graybeards. Sexy Olive Oil with Popeye and Bluto, and then the Ghost Rider. I want to say that was when Ron Garney was on the show. I didn't want to draw the motorcycle, so I just drew him without the motorcycle. There's Snowbird, which apparently I was glossing over. Lord Pumpkin, I still have that. That's a nice Lord Pumpkin piece on that grave. And then this is from the Sienkiewicz show, where we tried to do like our best Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's the Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight. Sienkiewicz. Or Vetch. Sienkiewicz. This is the host of the Tower of Shadows. That was Steranko episode. Warner Brothers. Bugs Bunny with Mr. Hyde. Heck Boy. And then that's what's her face in the Mugatu from Star Trek. Then Crash Bandicoot. That was a Kelsey suggestion. And then, of course, Alien versus Predator. I went with E.T., though. So poor E.T. doesn't look like he's got long to live. There's the Goon. And Ulik the Troll. The Hulk, and my Kirby Captain America, and my Lopresti Hulk. Most of these I did on Graybirds. This Hulk I just did for recreational purposes. This is one of my all-time favorites, Santa Claus versus the Yeti. We did that on Graybirds on a Christmas special. That's what's her face from Teen Titans, and of course, old Who's It's. Deathstroke and Wonder Girl, or whatever her name is. This is actually one of my faves that I've done on the show, is the Donkey Kong one. Now, I guess the princess, I don't know why I was thinking the girl was in a bikini. She's actually in a princess dress, so I kind of blew it there, but she actually looks pretty good, so what the heck. And then, of course, poor old Mario dead at the bottom of the page because the gorilla got the best of him. And then Batman from Mask of the Phantasm, The Vision, and Ms. Marvel. And then, of course, we did Conan and Skeletor. And then this was the Ben 10 episode not too long ago. I did that, whatever that dude is. Donna Troy, thank you. Okay, since you guys twisted my arm, I'm not going to stop there. why would I stop there? Then we got some smaller ones. Werewolf by Night. That's pretty cool. That was actually, I saw David Finch do a Werewolf by Night similar to this. And I was like, I could do that. Then I did it and went, I can't do that. But more jealousy. But anyway, there's it's still pretty good though. A little man thing there for you. I always got to have man thing in my portfolio. That's actually a pretty nice little bust shot of man thing. And then, of course, one of my very early acrylic paintings, Dark Wolf Frazetta there, which I think turned out pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with. Oh, look, another man thing drawing. And a Frankenstein. Kind of a Karloff Frankenstein. He doesn't look scary. He looks annoyed, like, will you please turn the page? Then, of course, Smoking Pogo and Friends, which is, I think is kind of fun. Then another acrylic painting of Red Sonja, although her hair looks a little like styled, you know, for a barbarian. But anyway, I was experimenting with acrylic paints, trying to kind of get the handle on it. One of my faves right there is the Grinch versus Santa Claus, where he uses sleeping pills and knocks out Santa. Good, clean fun. Oh, still got that from Primal Zone, the promo. So I was thinking about maybe doing this pose for the cover instead of that one. Oh, I cut her head off. So that's what this is. And then, of course, another man thing painting there. This is a very early acrylic painting, just trying to figure stuff out. Mr. Miracle and the Spirit and Pigel, who's like this villainous chick right there. Look at this. I was on a serial kick for a while. So I did Quisp, Count Chocula, and then, of course, Sugar Bear. Now, these are my faves. I don't even want to sell these, but I do. I got to sell everything because that's just how I am. Uncle Creepy, right, from Creepy Magazine, the host of Creepy Magazine. I just freaking love. That's the best piece I've ever done. I am very Wrightsony. Cousin Erie, the best Cousin Erie I've ever done, from Erie Magazine. Then the Crypt Keeper in Al Feldstein style, not Feldstein, Kamen, Jack Kamen style. Jack Davis, Tales from the Crypt, Crypt Keeper. Ingalls Old Witch. Garbage Man. Then, of course, Hong Kong Phooey smoking. The Grinch smoking. This was from Graybeards. Who do we do? Who's the old painter? Doggone it. Was it Cornwell or somebody else? We were doing sort of our. So I did a pirate. Yeah, Cornwell would have nothing to worry about me. This goes way back to our very first Christmas special on Graybeards. This was the what's that? What's the evil Santa? The Krampus. That's my version of the Krampus. Mobius is Iron Man, or an Iron Man done in Mobius's style. So we're trying to ape Mobius's style, which I did okay, I think. Wally Wood episode. So I did Super Duper Man and Lois Lane there. Actually, kind of like that one too. My Buscema episode. My Weird World piece right there. And then some people say this is Kelsey smoking, but this is actually Bigfoot smoking, which again could be Kelsey smoking. And then the Kelly Jones episode, Dead Man. Most of these are up on my website, but if you see something in here that you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, you can contact me directly as well if you're interested in purchasing any of these. Modoc, I'm sorry. Look at that. Grumpy. A lot of people accuse me of using a Hulk face on him, and sure I did. Why not? Then I got Frankenstein and Dracula here. Good times had by all. That's it. There you go. Those are my sketchbooks. Yes, most are available on my website. And if you can't find them there, you can certainly contact me directly at aaron@aaronlopresti.com. So there you go. Ronan says, is there a Joe Camel with a nicotine patch on? That's a good idea. Joe Camel. I should have done that. But I'm not beyond doing it. I could do that. I did famously, not really, but I did do Fred Flintstone smoking a cig, and that one was very popular. So Creative Face says it was Wyeth. Thank you. NC Wyeth that we were doing. Corey Landis says, great, I don't even like cereal, and now I'm jonesing for some Count Chocula. Yeah, but you know what? They come out every Halloween. They come out with those monster cereals, but the formula isn't the same. They really suck. They're not good. And I was very disappointed. In fact, I have boxes because I like the box art. Kind of around here someplace. Because Terry Dodson did the Count Chocula years ago. Jim Lee did Boo Berry. Dave Johnson did Frankenberry. And I bought those because of the art on the box, but the food inside, meh. S'more says Aaron loves his man thing. I don't want to get into that right now. D. Williams says, notice the man thing and Conan sketch have the exact same silhouette. I don't know what you're talking about. Everybody's a critic. You know that? Everybody's a critic. You got me looking, though. I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're high. Okay. Randy Howell says, showing your man thing on YouTube and get your channel taken down. I've heard that. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist, finally shows up. Welcome, Paul. Glad to have you here. Moromi says the Flintstones smoked Winstons. They did. In fact, I think they went around the side of their house, were dragging on some cigs while their wives were mowing the lawn. So it was a pretty good commercial, actually. Very, very pleased with that classic commercial. Okay, so where are we at here? I think we've gotten to a point. Was the Indigo tax situation figured out? I would love to say yes, but no. It is so freaking complex. It's absurd. I contacted my accountant via email, and I just did not get enough clarity. So I'm going to have to talk to her on Tuesday to clarify everything. I can't even get into the explanation, other than to say that some states are trying now to get money from crowdfunding through sales tax. But every state is different and has stipulations based on just random things, like how much money you spend, how much did it cost to produce the item that you're actually getting, minus how much you spent. It's just, but anyway, I will send out an update probably on Tuesday after I finally get complete clarification. But it's one of those weird things that no one has a definitive answer on, which is like the worst thing in the world. So I know that Graham Nolan got audited by the state of New York for sales tax on all of his Indiegogo campaigns, went, presented his case, and they let him go and said, I'm not let him go, but they said, you're right. You don't owe sales tax. So according to the state of New York, which I would think is as bad as California in terms of finding ways to tax people, although Oregon's pretty good too, although we do not have sales tax in Oregon. So I've never something I've really had to worry about. So it really becomes down to Is the state willing to enforce it? Are they willing to pursue it? Do they actually have a case? I mean, they can say that, yeah, we're taxing this, but as you guys know, crowdfunding is not technically a sale. You guys are funding a person or a project to get the project done. And then as a reward, the creator is then giving you product for your trouble. And so it's not like you're buying, technically speaking, buying the product, because as we've seen happen, unfortunately, too many times, people are not legally obligated to give you something for your contribution. And that's why you see people flake out and take the money and run. And so it's a very gray, nebulous area. But if you remember, well, you may not know if you haven't ever set up and sold at a comic convention, but it used to be no big deal. But then states started figuring out, hey, wait a minute, these guys are making money at this show. And then certain states now will require you, California being one of them. I'm sure New York is another. Chicago is not a state, but the Chicago show, that you have to fill out a form to get a sales tax license, and then you have to pay sales tax for any of the money you make at these shows. But there's still states you can go to that have sales tax that aren't enforcing this, and are maybe not even aware of the fact that there's, this is happening and people are making money, so they're not sales taxing it. So again, it varies from state to state, which makes it really complicated to try and figure out. As far as I know, they don't. I don't know. That's another good question. You wouldn't get sales tax on a GoFundMe because that is a donation, but you might get taxed on the income that you get from a GoFundMe. That I don't know. I've never done one. So all of that to say that I'm not sure, but I'm going to and I may not be sure on Tuesday, because the answer I'm given may be, well, there's this and there's that and and so then I'll have to make an executive decision. But anyway, I will let you guys know very soon. I should register. Practically am at this point. All right, let's go look at some accomplished artists, shall we? Who do we got this week? Let's go across the pond to Britain. Look at BRYAN HITCH, who's kind of started off as an Alan Davis kind of influenced artist and sort of grew into a superstar in the industry, shall we say. Of course, Alan Davis was a superstar as well. So, Creative Face says Aaron is a charity case. He lives with his mother. Here, catch this. My mother lives with me. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so we're looking at some BRYAN HITCH covers. Now, of course, these are some of my favorite BRYAN HITCH covers. They may not be your favorites. Your mileage may vary. So, just keep that in mind as you see what I pull up here. Now, this first one has a special place in my heart, because you can see right up here, Venditti and, Lopresti. Look at that, Lopresti. Look at that, Lopresti right there. That proves to you guys that I actually did work at DC Comics. So this actually isn't one of my favorite BRYAN HITCH covers, but because my name is on the cover, I thought, you know what? I'm going to show that. This actually was kind of a fun story. I got to fill in for Doug. I'm an idiot. Help me out, you guys. Doug. All I can think of is Doug Wildey, and that's not who it was. He was drawing Justice League and needed to break for a story arc or whatever, and so I did this story arc, and then another one after that. Yeah, Dougie Doug was who it was. Well, I will say this. This was after Dan DiDio got let go, so I was kind of thinking I didn't know how much time I actually had left in the industry, or at least especially at DC Comics. So if someone called me up and said, "Hey, you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So, Doug Mankey, I finally thought of it. Doug Mankey was doing the Justice League stuff and needed a story arc fill in. Oh my gosh, David Williams calling again. Yes. Yes. Hello. I tell you, these kids today, they're prank phone calls. Yeah, Doug Monkey. Anyway, so I thought I'd show that just to a little self-serving. But now getting back to the covers that actually did make my favorite list. Oh, wait, look at this one. Look at Lopresti. Look, there I am again on the cover. How did that happen? Oh, my word. Yes. No, it's Doug Mankey. I thought of it. Thank you, though. Appreciate you reaching out and helping out. All right. See you later. Bye. That was David Williams. He said, was it Dougie Braithwaite? Oh, it was Doug Mankey. Okay. So anyway, actually, this is a pretty good cover. Not that the other one was, but I actually kind of really like this cover. So then I thought, I'm going to put this on the list, not only because my name's on the cover, but because I think this is a pretty cool cover. So there you go. I like the big image of the evil negative Superman or whatever that dude's name is. A lot of times it's hard to incorporate a lot of characters in a busy cover, but still have a huge, where it just doesn't feel busy. This feels really well laid out. You've got the depth here because, of course, Batman's in the foreground, so he's bigger, and Superman's a little bit smaller, and they get smaller as they go away from us. But then you got that huge image of the evil Superman character holding the Earth there, and it's a really strong cover. Eradicator, thank you. You guys are jumping in there going, Aaron, do you not know anything about comics? I really don't. Actually, I do, about Marvel Comics. How can I work in DC for over 10 years, 12 years? I think I worked 13 years. I worked at DC Comics, and I still don't know anything about DC Comics. It's pathetic. Now here, this is exactly the opposite of what I'm talking about. This is a very busy cover, but I kind of like it because of the characters involved. It's like everybody in the Marvel, not everybody, but a lot of people in the Marvel U. I got to draw a couple of splash pages like this, one in Ms. Marvel and one in Planet Hulk, where I got to just use a ton of characters. And it was a lot of fun. I did one in my What If Avengers story, but they were all just standing around, like in front of the Avengers mansion. They were just standing there, looking in, I'd much rather have him doing something like this. So this is kind of cool. And he's like me. He said, you know what? I'll draw a Ghost Rider, but I'm not drawing that motorcycle. So he threw Ghost Rider in here fighting the Human Torch. This is kind of fun. So that's why it's in here, because it's fun. Comics should be fun. Now, he has a lot of covers that look like this, but this is pretty strong. Of course, I'm assuming, I don't know, is this a trade paper? No, it isn't. Ultimates #1. But this isn't the regular Ultimates. I'm not sure, because I've got some of his Ultimate covers, and this is not Ultimates. This has to be like a second run or something, but or is it a trade or a reprint? I have no idea. But pretty cool cover. Nice image of Cap in there. Strong, powerful image, which I think always helps sell your book. Now, here's what it was kind of based on. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have put both these on here, but this is actually the cover to Ultimates #1. And I remember when this book came out, this would have been in the late 90s, I think, wasn't it? Or right around 2000, maybe. This was a cool series. And of course, it feels like this is what they kind of built the MCU on, was the Ultimates universe, more so than the classic, at least with Thor. The Thor movie seemed very much taken right out of this. This was a good read. You know, the artwork, of course, was really good, but it was also a good read. You know, of course, Mark Millar is good. Mark Miller. Why don't I know how to pronounce that? I know Mark. I've met him. He's been on the Landing Party show a couple times. And I just called him Mark, and I never really clarified the Miller or Millar last name. But anyway, he's a good writer, clearly. And this was a good read. It's a good read. Okay, now we're going back to the Mega Wayback Machine. I didn't even realize this. I remember seeing this cover, and I really thought the Mantra figure was really cool. I really liked the Mantra figure. Now you can see this is very early Bryan Hitch, and it's very solid, but it's nothing compared to what his more photorealistic type stuff that he's doing now. This is more standard comic booky. I'm curious. I wonder how old he was when he was working on this. So this is Mantra #12. But I love this figure of Mantra here. Ah, the Ultraverse. Dave Ulbrich is probably in the audience someplace, pining away right now. Moromi says he's clarified it's pronounced Miller. Okay, so Mark Miller. And it's so funny because I remember seeing this cover and liking this cover, but I had no idea who Bryan Hitch was. It was like he was just, he was like me, just some new guy. And well, I guess he showed me, didn't he? Yep, Malibu Comics, the Ultraverse, baby. That's where I first broke out back in the day. A lot of guys did. Terry Dodson, David Williams did stuff for Jerome Moore, did stuff for these guys. Jeff Johnson. Help me out. Yeah, Robarian's like, Hitch did that cover? Sure did. Yep. Now, this one I just found I hadn't seen before, but I thought was pretty cool. I first saw it and I was like, oh, that looks like a Mark Brooks cover, but I can tell by the face in here in the reflection, those are kind of Alan Davis-y, so I knew it was Hitch. That was really cool. I mean, it's not a particularly original idea to have the reflection in the glass or something like that, but just the cool. How many times have we seen like a really super cool Darth Vader close-up like that? I can't even think of one where you kind of get like the mask details and stuff in there. So I think that's pretty cool. It's so funny. I was the perfect age for Star Wars. I was 77. I was 13. when that came out. Perfect age. And yet, because I'd been brainwashed by Star Trek as a very early child, I never gravitated to Star Wars like other people did. You know, they grew up and it just became Star Wars. And I liked Star Wars. And I went and saw all the movies and everything, and I was just mesmerized by the original movie. As a 13-year-old, I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen, but it never captured me quite like Star Trek did. So what are you going to do? Paul Taylor for $10 Canadian says, "Hey, Aaron and chat. There's sure were a lot of independents that popped up in the 90s. I wonder how many of them are still around." None of them. Oh, Dark Horse would be the only one. Dark Horse came about in about 1988, 87. I don't think they were as early as 86. They might have been late 80s, mid to late 80s. Dark Horse came around, and they're still, as of the moment, still functioning. Of course, Mike Richardson got replaced, and he, of course, is the driving force. He created Dark Horse and sustained it through all these years. And so, who knows what their future holds? But there were Boom came about after Malibu. So I think Boom was in the 2000s. Yeah, Image, I guess, 1990s is still around. But I think that's pretty much it. Yes, that is correct. But the pledge and the shipping amount are, I mean, you add them all up and that's the gross. I mean, less, you're right, because you're gonna less the fees and stuff, but it's like I said, it gets very complex. There's like these states belong to what is called a sales tax nexus, and some states are connected to other states and other states are not connected to other states. And if you don't go over a certain amount of money in that particular state, then you don't have to pay. It's incredibly convoluted. So that's why I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. But thank you for that. This is a Spider-Man variant that I don't think I'd ever seen before, but I did kind of like it. This leg is kind of bendy, but I don't mind that because I do kind of bend my anatomy at times too. But I'm sure he had, probably traced a photograph for this background of Times Square and everything, which I would do as well. It's what a pain in the butt to draw that from scratch. But I like the figure. The lighting on the figure I think is nice. And again, you're able to get this really cool, big, coming at you, Spidey. I just thought it was interesting. Now, of course, my favorite covers of Hitch still go back to the Ultimates. I like this because of its pardon the expression, its starkness. So you just have a single image of this character, some background color. I think the Iron Man design is pretty cool. I'd draw this once and then retire. I wouldn't want to have to draw this panel to panel. It's crazy. Because I'm not a tech guy, but you can see it's very sort of anime type, not anime, but manga type tech influence on there, which, they do the best tech. The only thing I rip off from manga is their tech. And I don't even do that very well. But this is pretty cool. Great big figure coming at you. Really nice. I did have to put Iron Man, the modern Iron Man, the one with all the, the armor that what's his face designed, closer to the movie armor, appeared in Ms. Marvel briefly, thank goodness. Ugh, God, that was a nightmare. I had like 2 or 3 pages I had to draw with him fighting Ms. Marvel with that armor. Oy. Oh, I see what you're saying. The stuff that I have to pay as opposed to what the buyers have to pay. Well, yeah, I'm not worried about me. I don't have to pay sales tax because I live in Oregon. But the buyers have to pay sales tax or may have to pay sales tax, which then I'm responsible for collecting and then sending back to the state. That is the issue. So anyway, I've got 2 favorite covers from the Ultimates. This is one of them. I thought this was a great cover. The Ultimate Hulk. Look at the lighting on there. So nice. So nice. Just great figure work, great lighting. Nice coloring. I don't know who did the colors, but yeah, I was like that cover. I saw that. I was like, oh, yes, I'm getting that. Then this is my other favorite Ultimates cover. So these last 2 covers are like my 2 favorite Hitch covers of all time. I love this Thor cover. Again, huge central image, just kind of grab your attention. That, the hammer looks more like an axe, but that hammer, the lighting effect, it's just really, really cool. Again, you see stuff like this and it makes you want to buy the book. And that's kind of the whole purpose of your covers, to get people to buy get you to buy the book. So job well done, Bryan Hitch, right there. Anyway, there you go. There's a few of my favorites. And now it's time where we really have to use our imagination, because if we don't, we will never find I'm wearing my shirt. UFO. Loch Ness Monster, which we've already debunked completely on this show. That's why you see no more. I will not show any more Loch Ness Monster photos, because he's been completely debunked. Bigfoot, we're working on it, but problem with AI generated Bigfoot images is he looks too much like a monkey, not like a monkey caveman. So it's just my personal opinion. AI is the devil. I have nothing good to say about AI, although I occasionally do use AI. Like for that image, that was AI, just fun and games until someone loses an eye. All right. So you guys take a look at this. Now, we looked at this last week, but I want you to see it again, because it leads into something that I think is very important. It leads right into our first video. Okay. So now, if you remember, this is a helicopter flying around a mountain, and they see this little black dot. right up there and they zoom in and it's a freaking grizzly bear, right? Or some kind of bear, which you can see clear as day. Look at how sharp that is. Okay. This is a helicopter flying around, surveillance helicopter, whatever they do. You know, they work in the national parks, whatever they do. And they're like, what the heck is that? They probably even thought, wait a minute, is that Bigfoot? And they zoomed in and it's a bear, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know what he's doing up there, but okay. So look how clear, there's no question. It's not AI, that's a bear. Okay. Very cool. All right. So now let's take a similar situation where we have a helicopter flying around. And what happens? Let's give it a second here as we get past the still image. I hope I didn't record the wrong. Here we go. There it is. That's a helicopter flying around, and that's what they see. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the best picture we can get. Because that's Bigfoot. But then they fly lower and show us the footprints, which are clear as day. Now, of course, these are obviously fake footprints because they're perfect. And there's like no snow kicked out from, I mean, that's obviously been put in after the fact. And there's that dude from Maximum Fear. You should go watch his channel because I rip off his videos all the time. So I feel a little guilty. So go subscribe to Maximum Fear. He has all these kind of videos on there. But okay. Grizzly bear a mile away on a mountaintop, clear as day. Bigfoot, allegedly, walking on a mountain, and you're in the same helicopter, and this is the best you can give me. But then I can get this. Look how clear this is. Look how clear that shot is. Why can't we get that clear shot of Bigfoot walking? Huh? I want a logical explanation from the chat. You guys are smart. How can we get this clear of a photo of the alleged footprints, which are obviously fake, but we can't get a clear shot of this from the helicopter? Fuzzy, clear as day. Let's see what you guys have to say about all this. You guys are song lyrics in the chat. Boyd, why did the grizzly bear climb the mountain? Because it is there. That is a good question. Why would he do that? But Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, says for $5, thank you, sir. He says, Bigfoot is busy with Kelsey back. Let me try that again. Bigfoot is busy with Kelsey back. It's his turn to guard the still. Okay. The beam pad, okay. Shaky and blurry, of course. You're pointing the obvious, but why? Why can't they get a clear shot of Bigfoot? Different cameras, of course, but it's always convenient that they have the good camera when they're getting wildlife photos, but whenever they have Bigfoot photos, they have the bad camera. Okay. Anyway, so that one sort of irritated me, and I had to share it with you. Now, here's another helicopter one. I call this Bear Man Bigfoot, and you'll see why in a moment. Bear Man Bigfoot. There he is. Look at that head. Look at the head. Is that not the head of a bear? I'm not even saying any of this is real because I don't think it is, but stop. The brow, the ears, the nose right there. This is Bigfoot Bear Man. Now, I will say there's one thing that's interesting about this. As you can see the camera coming in before we get, you see this blurry spot here and here? This appears to be like haze or something on the windshield of the helicopter, allegedly. So then when that gets over the part of Bigfoot here, he gets a little blurry. So right there. So it makes sense. But this appears to be a camera zooming in, which is pretty good. But it's blurry right there. But it kind of makes sense because that haze has already been established on the window of the helicopter. So just for consistency's sake, I still think this whole thing is fake. This looks like probably AI or something. But then the question begs, why does he have a bear head? He clearly has a bear head. That's true. It couldn't be a helicopter, could it? Because the wind from the chopper. Now, granted, we're thinking he zoomed in with the camera, so I don't know how far away from the trees he actually is. But you would think that you would get some sort of see how high up he was originally? I know I can't believe I'm trying to justify this, but see, right there is where the helicopter is. Because you can see the window right there, see the frame right there, that black thing on the left. So now he's zooming in. Although I can't see anything here, so I don't know what he's seeing that I'm not seeing to make him want to zoom in. So you probably wouldn't see any blowback from the trees if he's up this high in the helicopter. Because now he's just zooming in with the camera. But it could be a completely AI zoom. It could be a, because that figure just doesn't look, it doesn't look like a bear and it doesn't look like a Bigfoot. It just, now it looks like the figure changed. There's allegedly our helicopter. Yeah, right. Like right here. It clips right there. See that edit right there? So here it looks like, I don't know what it looks like. And then boom, it's got this big old arm and a bear head. Artivroy is correct. He says that's two different films spliced together. That's exactly what it is. Those are always the dead giveaways when they edit like that, when they clips right there, and then boom, clip like that, and it's something different. Shouldn't we be getting better Bigfoot videos at this point? I mean, that is just not even the same thing. It's tall and skinny right here, and it looks like it's wearing bell bottoms. And then it clips right there, boom, right there, and becomes something else. But why do they give it a bear head? I mean, that's just so dumb. F, you just failed my class. Okay, this one. This is the Kentucky Monkey Man. So I don't know. There's always new cryptids popping up, right? There's one more thing we can't find any more evidence of. But here we go. This is the Kentucky Monkey Man. See him right here? Kentucky Monkey Man. Let's see what he does. That looks so fake. I don't even know where to start. Okay, let's start with. Okay, Okay, so you got the monkey head, you got the hunchback. Look at these, like the little tiny legs, and the arms look like I don't know where they connect at the elbow. Doesn't look right. Barbarian is saying they're comparing it to this is what a chimp would be doing walking, what he would look like. And this is a skinny version. He's a monster claiming maybe this isn't a Bigfoot at all. It's a melon head. That's a possibility. There's a big old melon he's got on there. Art of Roy notices same long arms as last week's one, but this guy has shorter legs. Creative Faye, former college student, says, looks like a bad model made in Blender. Fat Tony says, what if the Crypt Keeper and a baboon had a baby? Now, you know, the origin of the Crypt Keeper is that there was a female mummy in a circus sideshow, female mummy and the two-headed boy hooked up. And that was the origin of the Crypt Keeper. You can find that in Tales from the Crypt number 33, if you, it's Jack Davis cover. In fact, let's bring it up since I thought about it, because you'll get a kick out of it. Okay, so Tales from the Crypt 33. Ugh. All right, we'll go to this eBay page real quickly here. On contrary, I never do anything quickly. Okay. Let's get rid of this guy for a minute. Take a look at this. All right, so there you go. So you've got this hot female mummy and the two-headed boy thinking, yeah, I'm going to get busy. And it's Enoch, the two-headed boy or guy or whatever. And yeah, they got together and spawned the Crypt Keeper right there. There you go. That's how it happened, folks. If you didn't believe it. It's kind of an expensive book, too. Got so many windows open, I got lost. All right, so that's your origin of the Crypt Keeper, which has absolutely nothing to do with what we were talking about. But I feel like it's important that I share this information with you. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at this critter again. Do these people just not know how to use these programs very well? I just feel like we should be getting better. Like, why couldn't we get a video of a Bigfoot that looks like this? Looks like that monkey walking, where you go, oh, that looks real. I just feel like we're getting dissed, if you will. We're getting treated disrespectfully with the lack of quality of Bigfoot videos. Barbarian says, Kentucky has a long history of witches. It's possible it's some witchcraft chimp chimera monster. I like that. See, I like the scientific explanation that maybe there's a possibility it's the little monkeys that the chimpanzees see in an AI fake video, not too good, scale way off. Okay, he's not buying it. There you go. Do I really want the truth? I don't know that if I could, I don't know I can handle the truth. Let's just say I'm not convinced this is much of anything. I would have liked it better if the joints connected, like the elbow. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't look real, like that could actually function. So I'm still waiting for my first video of a melon head. I've told, of course, the legend, the story, the tale of the melon head, but I have no video evidence of any melon heads yet. Although we looked at one last week, didn't we? A big white-headed, like it was either kind of a cross between a melon head and a gray alien hiding behind a tree. So maybe there's some melon heads out there. No, that is not correct, Marcus. You must have come late because Creative Faye got a cannonball very early in the show. So I dish it out when necessary. All righty. All right, folks, that's going to about do it for today's show. Yeah, like I said, I'll have news on what I'm going to do about the sales tax or whatever on Tuesday. And I will then pass it on to you. Of course, Barbaric Adventures is open right now. And if you haven't backed, please consider doing so. It is going to be, well, it already is 5 pages, 6 pages into it, the best stuff I've ever done. And I am just thrilled to be working on it. It's obviously stuff that's directly in my wheelhouse. And the cover you see behind me, if you're joining us late, I just finished this thing up, and it's going to be an alternative cover that we will see. I'm also going to launch on Kickstarter. That'll be available on the Kickstarter campaign. And so there you go. And I can pretty much guarantee you won't have to pay sales tax on Kickstarter. So there you have it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Be safe. No drinking and driving. And enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. I'll be thinking of you as I'm drawing tomorrow. So anyway, good night, everybody. And thank you. And that's all I got. See ya.
Mr. Submarine Man!